This is the Embracing Enchantment podcast. Boy, you really enjoyed the Cult Mother and Tommy Vowels episode, as did I. If you are listening on the day that this comes out, which is May 15th, 2026, my tarot book is open but closes tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be sure to put a link in the show notes. And somebody asked me recently, what are show notes? That is when you go to the episode in wherever you listen to your podcast, and there's a bunch of different notes in there, including links to stuff that your podcast host or guests talk about, so they can check things out even further. We are going to be doing a tarot reading for today's new moon. Nope, not today. Tomorrow's new moon in Taurus. My understanding, and as you know, I'm not an astrologer, is that part of what we might want to focus on for this new moon is to leave space for miracles. So absolutely use it to manifest. But two things you can focus on. One, don't get too tricky with the details. That is for the universe to figure out because, as you know, it's managing several other things. But also leave space for actual miracles to happen. And if you go back to the very first guest we had on this podcast, Colin Bedell, he said that's one of the most important things when you're thinking about manifestation is you got to leave room for miracles. There's so much that we don't know. And if we believe that the forces of the universe are conspiring to help us, which, look, I'm not going to pretend like that's an easy thing to do right now, or that we, should necessarily be focusing only on our individual selves, since so many folks truly need a lot of help. But what if we leave room for miracles? I mean, I chat with my dream team every day, and one of the things is show me where I can have the biggest effect on everything that's going on. Okay, so we're just going to run through some cards, take what resonates, and remember that as I learned in a reading I had with Sarah Faith Gottesdiener, you are responsible for what messages come to you. You're responsible for your actions as a result. So if something comes to you during this reading and you think, oh, this is what I need to do. Oops, I guess we have a starting card. You got to do it, or else it's like the reading didn't happen. All right, I'm going to bend over and see what we got. Oh, there's two. So let's just go with both of them and we'll see. Whoa. Okay. All right. All right. We have two majors here. We have strength and the world. And combined, they literally just say what I was talking about, which is strength, which is taking action, having the courage to take action, taking it, doing the stuff that might be hard, because action is hard. Inertia is comfy. Staying the same is comfy, even though ultimately it leads to your downfall, I think. I think we have to keep moving forward. We have to go through experiences that are challenging in our personal journeys, as well as, our universal togetherness journeys. But this reminds you that you have infinite strength, and that whatever you set your mind to, you can and should go for it at the very least. It doesn't promise the outcome, But you know what it does is the world. Except that it doesn't necessarily it doesn't necessarily promise the specificity of the outcome, but just the freedom and the ability to create and to live in both your fully in both your physical body on this earth as well as in your spiritual life. And I don't know if you follow me on my my main work account, which is at Impact Witch. That's Instagram. You might have seen that I've been talking a lot about the science and the research that shows us that having a rich spiritual life is integral to our happiness. Now, I'm not saying that people who aren't spiritual don't find their happiness at all, because there was a great deal of time where I wouldn't have considered myself spiritual. However, not only is it, confirming for those of us who practice what we already know, but it's also specifically focusing on the research that I've been looking at specifically focuses on, witch and witch adjacent spiritual models, and beyond just having, feeling, more happy and purposeful. And I say happy loosely, obviously. I've been thinking about the reason I'm choosing these tools specifically is because we are seeing right now how patriarchy disempowers. And something like witchcraft, whether or not it's true, right? Let's not even argue that point. The idea of practicing it brings you back to feeling empowered against a system that was literally designed to disempower you. So what happens, and I keep saying this, witches are going to overthrow the patriarchy, because when you have a bunch of folks who are feeling empowered through a mode that you cannot control as much as they want to try to control, what even kind of spiritual practices you can practice, even though they're not supposed to. You're supposed to have the right to religion. Religion said very loosely here. You're going to see people who are feeling empowered after feeling disempowered, and watch out. And I have an upcoming guest who is going to be talking about how her relationship to spirituality, and specifically to sort of witch and witch adjacent spiritual models like tarot and astrology, helped her get through her long COVID. And she's not the first person who's brought this up. And there's actually a ton of research being done on that. But when her executive function was not working, she started using spirituality because she was in the middle of getting a PhD and needed to finish. Anyways, it's a fascinating story and I'm really excited for you to hear it. But for now, let's just focus on the fact that we have strength in the world. I mean, hilarious. Two heavy hitters together at last. Infinite strength and your ability to be the fullest, freest self you've ever been. Both of them have the signs of infinity. The world, if you'll notice, if you can go to YouTube and watch this, if you are listening, the world is a dancer who's naked and holding two magic wands and is surrounded by a circle of a laurel wreath, which means victory. And the laurel wreath is held together with red ribbons that are the sign of infinity as well. You have everything you need to be the best version of yourself. And the best version of yourself is also the version that is going to be what helps get us through this very difficult time out the other side, gives leadership. When you show up as yourself, it gives people the option to also show up as themselves, right? We create the environment around us that we want to be by how we are being. If I'm stressed out at my house, everybody else gets stressed out very quickly. And vice versa. It's not just me. I'm not controlling all the energy in the house. We model the world we want to see around us. Whew, all right. That's it. Just kidding. I'll pull a couple more cards, but it does feel like what else are you going to say after that? Seriously. As I'm shuffling, I saw that Mitch Horowitz, as you know, I'm a big fan, has another book coming out soon. So I'm really excited about that. And I've been reading a lot of smutty romance books because I don't know. I love them. They make me feel alive. Okay. I feel alive in other ways. Don't worry. Do you know what I did last week? I built a privacy fence in my backyard all by myself. I went to the hardware store. I got all the stuff. I tied it to the top of my vehicle. I came home. I pounded the stakes into the ground and I put up a privacy fence and I felt alive. We have wonderful neighbors, but we have an open concept in the backyard. And sometimes I just need to, if I'm doing my morning Reiki in the grass, I would like to not also have my neighbor watching me. Frickin' frack. Now we have the 10 of Cups. What do you even say about this? Okay. Again, culmination, joyfulness, celebration, freedom, I don't know if I've ever said this before, but my mom's partner passed away in May of 2020, not from COVID, but it made it very complicated because he'd been ill for quite some time and we couldn't visit anyways. And when we finally were able to go and see my mom, because I think at the time we were in lockdowns anyways, we did go. And on the way home, I saw what I now associate with the rainbow in the 10 of Cups because I've never experienced anything like it before. It was a truly magical rainbow. It was around us as we were driving in the highway and I felt things like I felt like higher vibrationally. I felt like a energetic joy that I hadn't felt before. And I knew it was him. And so now, when I see this rainbow, I think of that experience, but I also think of, this card asks us, what is joy to you? What would you be feeling in this moment? What would happen to make you feel this joyfulness? So, if you're watching YouTube, you can see the card, but if you're listening, it's a rainbow in the sky with 10 cups and what seems to be a man and a woman kind of with their arms around each other, but also towards the rainbow. And then there's two children dancing in the in the view as well. I mean, we feel pretty good about this card. Now it is a stage card, so sometimes it's like, is this telling us that the life that we were told we should want isn't necessarily the life that we should want? It's all kind of staged. You could take that stance if you want to, and then we still want to spin it. So like, what if this is a stage, then what does your stage backdrop look like? What does who are your characters in this scene of unbridled joy and celebration? Let's see what else wants to come through. Oops. All right, one last card and then we'll call it a day. How's about? Okay. 5 of Wands. So immediately we think, okay, conflict. Actually, didn't I get this card with Cult Mother? Interesting. Anyways, this card is about stepping into your own power. We use these phrases. Whew, stepping into your own power. That was probably good the first 100 times you ever heard it. And now we've heard it a gazillion times. And I'm taking this program right now that reminds me that you still have to use language that is universal and colloquial, because not everybody hears the phrases as much as you. Sometimes people are going to hear it for the first time. And we want to be, for me anyways, I rebel against being the same. I rebel against, being basic. But guess what? Sometimes being basic is actually the most helpful way you can be. So let's talk about stepping into your own power, showing up and bringing your ideas to the table, the same as everybody else, especially if there are folks that you might have otherwise admired and not felt like you deserved a spot in the fray. This card is telling you that you do. And if you need to level up, I hate, anyways, whatever, you know what I mean? Maybe it's time. Maybe it is time to go for it. Leaving room for miracles. The new moon can bring the miracles. It can fill in the gaps. What happens if you dream big? I've probably said this before on this podcast, but when I was working with Jericho Mandiber, they said to me, it's your birthright to dream big. And what we need to notice is every time our brain goes, but this could never happen because you're like this, or that's not you. You don't know. You've been a million versions of yourself already. You know that. I know that. I have too. You could be a different version of yourself whenever you're dreaming of, like, what could you want? An end to the current destruction that's happening in the world? Okay, fair. Yep, absolutely. But you might stop yourself and go, well, that'll never happen. There's always been good and evil in the world. There's always got to be like somebody who's trying to be too powerful or overthrow or whatever. Yeah, what if that doesn't have to be true? I mean, we can look at data, absolutely, but data is not necessarily a 100% predictor, which is why I don't enjoy doing predictive tarot reads, to be 100% honest. And there's also a way to have conflict with people. Yeah, this definitely was the card I pulled last with Tommy Vowels and Cult Mother. Anyways, it's coming up because it's reminding us, listen, get into it with people and find a way through it. It's uncomfortable. We are trying to avoid discomfort right now because there's been so much of it. However, what if you could say to yourself, maybe I am somebody who can sustain discomfort? What if it doesn't have to be life or death? What if it doesn't have to necessarily mean I end this relationship, but instead everybody says what they need to say in, maybe a way that is the least upsetting of the other person so that, everybody can hear each other. All right. That feels like a good place to leave. Please do go make sure that you're all signed up for the podcast because, okay, let me just back up and do this properly. You can find all the information and takeaways from today's episode in the show notes or at embracingenchantment.com. Subscribe and follow wherever you get your podcasts, and we'd love for you to leave a review. Truly, please. Please go leave a review. You can also leave a voice note at embracingenchantment.com. And I'm going to ask that of you because we have a medium channeler coming on the show with her husband, and she's going to be answering some of your questions through channeling. So I've asked, what is the most helpful way to frame the questions? And sometimes I've been told that sometimes people want to connect with loved ones in the past, but that only works if they show up. So absolutely, we can ask that. Can't guarantee that that's going to happen on the show or in the podcast. However, universal, and they also suggest not asking about the future because there's so many variables. That's actually literally what I just said a couple of minutes ago too. There's so many variables, and sometimes it's not actually helpful to know what's going to happen, because you don't want to taint your choices leading up to it. But so questions that could be helpful would be, what is the best activity for me to be doing right now? Or, what information would be helpful for the world to know right now? Or, things like that. But you can ask whatever question you want, and we can ask it. Just can't guarantee what's going to come through. I'm really excited about that episode, about sharing that with you. So if you would like, you can head to the voice note section at embracingenchantment.com. And if you ask a question, we will definitely ask it, as long as we don't have too many. And you're going to want to make sure you're subscribed, because we have some exciting episodes coming up with the aforementioned psychic medium channeler and her husband. And we also have a tarot reading mortality doula that I've been following for years. And I'm so excited because you are going to absolutely love her. All right, my friends, enjoy the new moon. Until then, here's to leading an enchanted life.